Anybody else? No?
Well, I mean, and that's a really good example to build upon, because in the focus groups, what we found was that if you had that conversation, you say we're just hanging out, we're friends with benefits, some people define that as just sex. Other people define that as we can hang out, your friends know that we're kicking it, my friends know that we're kicking it, but at the end of the day, we still aren't necessarily committed to each other. And so within that, there does become that element of what we're behaving as if we're in a relationship. And so, how does that then transition? Now, in your example, you all sort of eventually had a conversation or something along those lines of where, it did transition into a committed relationship. But there are a lot of instances of where, again, emotions and feelings get involved. And you're saying, well, we were hanging out, or my friends knew that, we were talking, your friends knew that we were talking. And you still are just in a friends with benefits relationship. It just, that definition is so murky that it's so difficult to narrow down. But I think there was a hand all the way in the back.
Oh, go ahead.
I wouldn't define the second example you gave as friends with benefits, like the hanging out and stuff like that. I would consider that somebody I would talk to, or we talk. Even if we are having sex, that's just someone that I talk to. I think like a friend with benefit friend is a friend that you only get a phone call after a certain time of night and stuff like that. So there truly is no emotional connection there other than the sex. But when you hang out together, you get to know a person on a different level other than sex. So then it do become more, and that's when the emotions do become get involved. So like the hanging out portion of the friends with benefits part, I think it changes it from friends with benefits to I think it's all not just sex.
Okay. Well, then that kind of connects to the question about rules.
Right.
And so are there rules to friends with benefits?
Yes.
I don't think it's blatant, like it's not out there, like this is what it is. But I think, it's an unwritten rule.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And then the part that gets confusing, if your definition and your rules aren't the same as the other person's rules. You know what I mean? And their definition.
So is it offensive if you find yourself in this situation and you had that conversation and you matter-of-factly lay out, the rules or the framework for what's going on? Is that offensive?
Yeah.
Why?
As long as it goes both ways.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because you can't have one person following the rules but the other person isn't, and they're just making up the rules themselves.
Okay.
I think it goes back to that contract. It's like an unwritten, you guys just agree on it. So like, it's kind of like, like the contract.
Good. And who are you allowed to be in a friends with benefits relationship with? How do you determine that?
Good.
What do you think? Yes.
I have learned that it really only works if you don't know, like if you don't really know the person. They're not really your friend at all, truthfully. If you really want to work, they can't really be your friend because naturally emotions do come. So it really has to be someone that you have no attachment to at all, and y'all are really just having sex. I'll talk to you later, see you later, bye. I think that's the only way to do it, because you can't really, I can't befriend you and be friends first and then we start having sex. It's just a difference to me just being you, hey, what's up? Oh, yeah, and that's how it is. I think it's different.
But different than a one-night stand, you're saying?
It's like a one-night stand over and over again.
Okay. With the same person?
Yeah, over and over.
Okay.
Doesn't walk the shame.
How else would someone determine who to be friends with benefits with? How do you determine that? Like we heard someone that you're not a friend with, because you're saying a friendship is an emotional connection. So how else? Everyone's in agreement with that you shouldn't be friends to have that benefit?
Yeah, like can you be in a friends with benefits relationship with someone that you do know, with someone that
like a buddy
is your
or a pal? Right.
Well, buddy is another word for friends with benefits.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
TV or something, but I mean, like, I guess doctors, because a lot of times like they're on call, I guess. someone that really can't have a relationship with anybody, so they kind of like screw their.
Oh, okay. So someone where their occupation is their profession is their life, and they're so busy that they don't want all of the relationship stuff on the side. Okay.
Kind of like, I guess, their free time thing to do.
Okay.
When they're in like a relationship thing, they're just get to trust that person in a way.
It's a good point.
And you know what? There's even research that supports that when you look at adults, like we always dump friends with benefits on, the college age group, because when we transition into the health, a lot of things that are going on with this particular population in regards to health. But when we look at the same phenomenon, but say maybe folks that are already out there in their careers, that's actually the reason that most of them give for participating in friends with benefits relationships. That I'm focusing on my career, or I have so much going on, or maybe I'm in grad school, or I'm working on this and that, and I don't have time to develop a relationship, but I do want to feel fulfilled sexually. And so they sort of find themselves in these situations that fall in line with the example that she just gave about the doctor.
Yeah, what Katia said, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Like back to the previous statement about do you like want to be a friend and like to the coworker thing.
Right.
I think like if I was like in a friends with benefit relationship, I would kind of want to know that person just so you can have that trust, so for health issues. You know what I mean? Like, am I your only friend with benefits, or do you have multiple friends with benefits?
I think they're really important questions to ask for your own health and safety. Did you hear what he said? So he's thinking maybe ask the questions, am I your only friend with benefits, or do you have multiple friends with benefits? Yeah, Daryl.
That goes back to you're not allowed to ask. Are you sleeping with? Most people won't answer. You can't tell. You can't.
Right, and is that breaking the rules?
That's why I would rather like. That's why I think your friends with benefits should probably be like a friend or somebody that you know, because by now like what type of person this is, and what they will do and what they won't do. What the stranger, I guess you would say, is really like out there. That's just too big of a risk.
And so you may already have that knowledge of the person because you established a friendship. Okay.
But so that sort of piggybacks. Daryl gave one response, but it seemed like there was some mumbling of perhaps other responses. Are you allowed to have more than one friend with benefits, and are you allowed to put that sort of in your rules?
Go ahead, Hakima.
I don't think there's like a thing that like you're allowed to, but if you're just friends with benefits, like you said before, there's no commitment. I'm not gonna like, don't come to me and ask me like how many people I'm messing with. Like when I'm with you, I'm with you, and when I leave you, don't worry about what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like if there's no commitment, there's no connection. It's not like you're gonna be with a complete stranger. You have to have like some type of connection with that person, but not to the point where you're questioning.
Right. I think you bring up some good rules where people say, don't then question me about my life outside of when we're in this friends with benefit relationship, that some people do feel that that's breaking the rules. Yeah. What did you read on that?
That is just the case, that you aren't necessarily allowed to ask if you are involved with other people. You can ask, but you're probably not going to get an answer, or the answer you're going to get is very much as what you all just shared about, well, we're not committed to each other, so don't worry about what I do when I'm not with you. But one of the other things that I found that was really interesting when I asked students the same question was that they were very likely to say that they would use condoms with their friends with benefits partner, but no one talked about testing or anything along those lines, or no one talked about, if you were engaged in friends with benefits relationships with other people, were you at least protecting yourself with them? And so I think that's interesting in that we understand sort of what the rules are, or what this framework is, or at the very least what we aren't allowed to ask, but we don't really have a framework for how do we then bring that in, or how do we then engage with that in our everydayness in these friends with benefits relationships.
So, even playing off of what you said and what Takima said, where, you know, it's none of your business who I was with before or who I'll be with when I leave you. If you can rephrase your question to say what you just said, are you protecting yourself? And that's just to protect you. So if you could say, are you protecting yourself when, you know, whoever you're with, that's none of my business, but are you protecting yourself so that when we're together, we're both protected? So,
and I don't know how common it is for students to do that. That's something else I think would be awesome if you all had some insight or some thought on. But I know that when, you know, we discussed that in the focus group or in some of the surveys, students weren't opposed to it. It just didn't seem like something that they commonly did.
What do you think? Is that something you would bring up with a Friends with Benefits? Or not? I heard a yeah. Yeah.
I ain't got nothing else to talk about.
I don't know. The deafening silence, maybe I'm just biased, but I'm thinking probably not.
What were you
I would say yeah, but like not right away, because you probably don't want to scare the person.
Yeah.
You know, like being like paranoid.
Okay.
Like when it comes to it.
I would just make sure that, you know, we always use protection. I don't know about I would, along those lines, I would probably ask that question that popped up. Yeah, I would just always use protection.
And if anything, it's food for thought, something for you to think about if the situation ever does occur. That, you know, something that, okay, how am I going to approach this? And I am curious about this because I want to stay safe and I want to stay healthy, and how can I address this issue? So something to think about. And that's something you'll have to decide. All right, so we spoke about the definition, and it's unclear and changes all the time. How about it? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we have a broad sense. We spoke a little bit about the rules, and we're not quite sure what they are either because they change.
We know they exist, but we're not sure what they are.
There's rules, but we're not quite sure what they all are. And who you could be in a relationship with. We touched a little bit on that. And, oh, go ahead.
I know some people, like some of my friends, they talk about it. For friends with benefit, are you like allowed to kiss, or is there no kissing?
Oh, that's a good. And then, so how did they answer that?
I get like different answers, but from the girls, I get no kissing because that starts emotion from guys.
Right.
Like, yeah, I don't care.
Okay.
And that falls right in
I
line
think
with the focus
that's interesting.
groups.
Did you notice that in your focus group?
Absolutely.
Did you hear what he said
Absolutely.
about the whole kissing aspect? That he found that women will say no kissing because that's sort of an emotional attachment, and he said that men will say it doesn't matter to them. And you said in the focus groups, did you see the same thing?
Absolutely, and it blew my mind initially, but as the folks continued to talk, I guess I at least understood where they were coming from, in the sense that even though when you're having sex, you obviously are attached to that person in some way, the kissing added this extra element of attachment. And so I could be intimate with you in regards to having sex without kissing someone. They still were able to sort of keep some sort of separation or not feel as deeply attached to the person. So, I mean, I've definitely heard that before.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It was interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Has anyone during your research ever questioned the terminology of Friends with Benefits? Why is it called benefits, Friends with Benefits? Why isn't it just called friends that
have sex?
FUCK, friends that have sex? Because what is the benefit of having emotionless, no kissing, no interaction, no feelings? Like, I don't get what is so beneficial about that.